it's not just Robert Jenrick who will go down in history of as the Grinch who removed posters of cartoons. It could well be that those posters were infringing copyright anyway, or those pictures on the walls were infringing copyright. The Disney studio is a nightmare when it comes to chasing up copyright infringements. I remember somebody who drew uh, scenes for a Disney film that I was vaguely involved with, and she drew pictures at a church fair and found herself facing prosecution for having infringed copyright, having drawn, I think, Donald Duck. And Disney, as I say, is ruthless in its pursuit of copyright. And in some ways, why not? It has a very successful copyright empire. Its empire is built on two things: copyright and merchandise. And you would think it was built on the development of the art form of animation, which it has contributed supremely to the extent that I think when we think of character animation, personality animation, we think first of Disney, and rightly so. It was the Three Little Pigs which confirmed Disney as the inventor, the developer of character animation, not just simply being able to make things move. We've got people like Winsor McKay, who was doing that quite early on, but being able to move with personality. And it's through the movement rather than the funny drawings which the personality is developed. It's Chaplin's movement that shows you his personality, not his costume. The costume is only part of that effort. The costume is the vehicle of the comedy and of the personality. And Chaplin was there with Disney developing this idea of character through movement, not necessarily through speech. So much in the theatre was done through speech. Speech was the language of the theatre, but motion was the language of the cinema. And Mickey Mouse is right there in the infancy of Hollywood and the infancy of the cinema. Animation plays a central part in the development of cinema. It's animation which was used as a tool, the greatest tool for propaganda by the emerging Soviet forces, who played animated propaganda on trains that sped through the early Soviet Union. It's animation which developed propaganda in China. It's animation which, in fact, developed some of the greatest propaganda against Hitler later on. And this coming month will see the expiry of the first of the great copyright protections that surround the Disney empire. Mickey Mouse as Steamboat Willie will fall prey to the collapse of his copyright protection. And this is going to become quite significant. The question is, can you start drawing and promoting your own version of Mickey Mouse, even based on the Steamboat Willie version rather than the version that you see on people's T-shirts and so on? And I think there's going to be a very big court case coming up in America or in Britain or somewhere else to test this, because Disney has been doing something quite clever. Disney has been reusing the old material to make sure that it's under a new copyright. So it's no coincidence that there's a new version of Snow White, a live-action version of Snow White, which will re-copyright the ideas of Snow White, and particularly the music. When You Wish Upon a Star and so on. Pinocchio, already out there in a completely second-rate live-action version of the Disney Pinocchio. And Mickey Mouse, there's two significant short films which have been made. The first one, Find a Horse or whatever. What was it called? Get a Horse in 2013, I think. And then which is a great little film. If you haven't seen it, it's great. The 2D characters run round the screen and then come out of the screen as 3D characters and back into the screen. But it's the original Mickey Mouse characters, not the 1930s versions. It's the black and white versions of Mickey Mouse and Minnie and all their friends who are celebrated in that film. And the later film is something which came out this year, which is called Once Upon a Studio. Now, Once Upon a Studio is is pretty insignificant. It doesn't really do very much. It's just a reworking of old scenes, but from slightly different points of view, and it's been animated lovingly. But what is it there for? I'm not really sure it's there for anything other than a desperation to ensure that Mickey Mouse and his friends and characters are back under copyright. And I think I think it's highly questionable actions, but I think it's probably enough to re-copyright the mouse in its original form, just as it's possible to re-copyright the music in its original form. And uh, 100 years on, there will be more problems. Disney, um, I think Disney has more to worry about than just the loss of the copyright to Steamboat Willie. I think, and Steamboat Willie wasn't the first Mickey Mouse film. I think the first Mickey Mouse film was Plain Crazy, but then but then it had sound added to it. So Plain Crazy comes out after Steamboat Willie. So Steamboat Willie is the first released Mickey Mouse film with sound, and the two things combined, 1928, and the company was desperate to have some success, having lost control of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So I think this obsession with keeping the legal ownership of the Mickey Mouse thing. Uh, um, Winnie the Pooh, of course, through Ernest Shepard and A. Milne, has already fallen out of copyright. Tigger will expire in a couple of days, and it's going to be. But of course, the problem with Winnie the Pooh is that Winnie the Pooh was then picked up by Disney, and Disney has held the copyright on Winnie the Pooh since 1961. And I'm not sure again that can be challenged, because the Disney's Winnie the Pooh is almost identical to the E.H. Shepard Winnie the Pooh, except that he has the little jacket. And I think there's even an E.H. Shepard illustration quite late on with a little jacket. But I don't think it's. Well, E.H. Shepard's illustrations were all in black and white. And the modern version of Mickey Mouse, at least into the 1930s, will remain under quite strict copyright, and people will be very careful. Should be very careful what they do. As I say, Disney has a reputation for viciousness.